This is Joseph Blake International, formerly known as Wingbro, out here in front of St. Sava's Cathedral, Belgrade, Serbia, the Balkans, Southeast Europe. So in this live, I'm going to discuss my experiences doing over 1,000 daytime cold approaches. And that's only in the daytime, and that's over the last 3 and a bit years. And if I add nighttime on top of that, my goodness me, I would be into, goodness knows, I don't know, it honestly might be touching 5,000. I wouldn't be surprised. I would not be surprised. Certainly multiple thousands, just because of the time I've spent in going out in the evenings, how much volume you could do, how many interactions you can have. So it's just so much social interaction that I've had. And then at 37 years old, having been a nightclub fiend, having essentially lived in a club, and I don't think this is a good thing to do, but this is what I did. Having basically lived in a club for practically 5 or 6 years, and then been a club promoter for 4. So essentially having lived in the club scene for 10 years. The pandemic fell when I was 33, 34. We emerged when I was about 36, and I became single at 37. And I decided I needed to learn daytime cold approach because I still felt too inhibited. I felt like it was an uncharted territory. And so I went and got a coach, and subsequently I think I've been the most consistent practitioner that I know of in this field. Maybe actually there's maybe 1 or 2 guys at the very obsessive level, other coaches. I don't even think I'm obsessive, actually. I really don't. I think I've been very consistent, steadily consistent for a long time, and in a lot of different places as well. So I would average, let's say last week I did 8. I'd average probably 5 to 10 approaches a week, often more like 10 to 15 a week, 52 weeks a year with essentially no weeks off, some more intensive periods. For 3 years, so what's that, 156 weeks, 10 approaches a week on average, that's well over 1,000 approaches. That's well over 1,000. So you just do the maths there. That's completely honest maths. And the reason I've been able to do that, first of all, I was very determined when I started off. I kept a log of all my approaches when I was in Brazil. And I really wanted to get this down. I wanted to understand the skill, this mystery, and I wanted to really tackle this fear that I had of speaking to attractive women in public in front of other people. And I think this is a feeling many guys have. You freeze up in the moment, and you want to address that and work on it and improve. And of course you want to meet some women, you want to get laid, etc. And so I'll just share some of my thoughts on this. If you're new to the channel, I discuss dating, relationships, cold approach. I'll be bringing more nighttime approach and dance content through soon. I also talk about relationship principles and dating principles, which actually that's probably the biggest value add on this channel. A lot of people can teach a cold approach. There's not many people who goes deep on the dating principles as I do. I think there's some guys who go very deep, but they're often kind of like scientists and speculative neuroscientists. I'm actually still a practitioner. So I think I've got a combination of the highly analytical and somewhat creative, but the highly analytical, I would call it evolutionary psychology approach to things, plus the applied approach in the streets and in the dates and in the bedroom and so on. So I'm able to bring an interesting perspective, which is not to self-aggrandize, but it's just very helpful for people. The point of this channel is to help you if you're struggling in your dating life, your romantic life. I am here to help. That is the purpose of this, is to if I can improve your dating life, I would love to improve it fivefold. With some guys, that's what happens. If you're around me for any period of time, it will improve very, very rapidly. And as I said, that's the purpose of this channel. So it's just starting to drizzle here. I may have to retreat. I'm going to retreat back to my house. So yeah, what have I learned after 1,000 approaches? Let me first of all just it goes very much in phases. It goes very much in phases. So I came into daytime approach really experienced, and I wouldn't say I was a natural seducer. I have naturally analytical, quite explosive mind, and I found the whole flirting thing, I have to be honest, I used to find it quite pointless and annoying for the most part. I think my nature is actually quite disagreeable, which is why I know I'm naturally disagreeable, and I know how my default setting would probably be like, top 2% disagreeable, but I kind of make myself more agreeable for society. So I used to find the whole flirting thing just quite annoying, to be honest. But I would do it anyway, and I remember becoming single at 21 years old. I had a long-term girlfriend. I read the book The Game, and I started to apply some of those ideas. Unfortunately, I didn't know at the time, but they weren't really designed for guys like me. They were kind of designed for men who really struggle socially, maybe even autistic, and a very limited experience, very low self-esteem and so on. I was none of the above. So actually, what I needed was just a mate on my shoulders to go, just fucking grab her. Go on, take her by the hands, drag her onto the dance floor, right, grind her up. Yeah, she wants you, mate, dude, she wants to fuck you. Kiss her. Right, now get in a taxi and go home. That's all I needed. I just needed a mate. Funnily enough, I didn't have anybody like that, but funnily enough, at a certain point, through when I was living in Madrid, my first job in Madrid, I met a couple of guys from Iceland, the Icelandics. One of the guys his name was Snorri, which I just found such a cool name, and they were pilots, these guys. And I spoke Spanish. We were both so freaking pale that I don't know, we had some kind of weird affinity to each other. They spoke great English. So I got out with these guys, and Snorri, bless him, what a legend. He was a few years older than me. He was about 27, I was 21, and he would just basically do that. I remember there was a girl there, and he basically said exactly, he's like, dude, this girl wants to fuck you, dude. Just animalistic Viking. And yeah, I went home with her that night, or maybe I definitely got the girls, pulled her, maybe got a number or something, but really, that was all I ever needed. I just needed a guy like that. And so, yeah, the gamey stuff, I tried all that on for size, and it's terrible. It's overthinking. It really is not, it's just not very good for a guy who's actually attractive. I was an attractive young man at 21. I'm still pretty attractive now at 40. I think at 21 I think I was fucking hot, to be honest with you. I wish I still looked like that. I had very thick, dark hair, was in really good shape, and yeah, I just needed a guy alongside me to push me through it. And then eventually, got myself into the nightlife scene a few years later, and I learned a lot from friends. I never learned anything from my old man, to be honest with you, or any older men. There was nothing. It wasn't something that came so naturally to me. I always found the approach side more difficult. I found relationships themselves quite easy, and I found a lot of girls would fall for me. Most of the girls, it's like once we cross a certain threshold, they would fall really hard for me. I don't think I'd had a girl break up with me, I don't know, until almost ever, if I'm being honest. I don't think I've really ever had a girl break up with me that I can think of. One girl I cheated on, a couple of girls I cheated on, they found out about it, but I honestly don't even think that counts, because their hand was kind of forced. So on the back end, on the relationship end, Even on the early dates, I'm pretty solid, to be honest with you. I kind of instinctively know how to deal with women. The front end I always just found a bit more tricky, like this whole flirting thing, right? And so for me, the more primitive and primal, the better. That's a difficult thing to bring into the street, actually. So it's really not easy at all. And so I came into street approach at 37. I had plenty of experience. I would never put myself up as like the pimp grandmaster. I wouldn't put myself there, but there would be people who would say that I was. But because of the guys I was around, I knew what they were doing. So I'd say, I'm with a friend. He's going through a different girl literally every day, sometimes two in the same night. I've hit that once or twice, but he was doing it. He was doing it for like years on end. So I never put myself in the category of the big time playboy, but I was kind of in and around it. And through osmosis and my own attractiveness, I got some experience. Just enough to make me feel seasoned and grounded. And coming into the daytime scene, as I say, I was experienced. I knew how to open, basically. I knew how to have a conversation. I knew how to close. I felt generally quite confident speaking to women. And so when I went on we call it an immersion, where you go and actually learn this with a coach intensively, there's really a handful of coaches in the world who can teach you it. And in my opinion, when I went to train, with a guy called Christian, who's a former magician. I'd seen his stuff online, and he was a complete breath of fresh air. If you're into this space, you know who he is. He was a complete breath of fresh air into the space. And even though he was a lot younger than me, I just had a lot of respect for the sheer boldness and forwardness with which he was going at it. And for me in this space, it is basically before Christian and after Christian. That's it. And it's I don't mind talking about him on my channel. He's a kind of polarizing character. Maybe I'm a bit similar. I went to train with him, and I'll say if I hadn't found him, I wouldn't have trained with anyone. It's just there was no interest in anybody else. So I went to train with him and really pushed the boat, pushed the limits. And I remember him saying to me after the first day, he sent me just some nice positive reinforcement. Mate, just congratulations on the sheer ferocity with which you attacked the day. And so I remember going out that first day and going into a set with a Chinese girl. That was my first open, and I burnt it to the ground. It was not a really good set. I didn't really know what I was doing, but I just burnt it to the ground. And we kind of went from there, really. And there were a few key moments. The big moment, the life-changing moment, as ridiculous as it sounds, was cold approaching a girl at a bus stop. And I was genuinely like fucking scared because, I don't know, agoraphobia or something. It's intimidating, going up to a beautiful girl at a bus stop surrounded by people. And I go, dude, I've seen one, but I'm fucking shitting it. And he goes, mate, just pay her a compliment. And I thought to myself, well, I can do that. Something just changed in my mind. And I went in, and it was almost like a masterclass set. It was my best set of the whole weekend. I just felt after the first open, I was kind of like, I'm so far out on a limb here, I may as well just go all the way. And everything faded into ones and zeros, and I literally could only see the girl. I couldn't see anything else. And then got the girl's number, and it literally, like, everyone's staring at me at the bus stop, right? What the fuck is going on, right? And so it was a life-changing moment, to be honest, to know that I have that in my locker. I have so much more in my locker than I ever imagined, and that I don't need to wait to go to a club. I don't need to kind of have social permission. I can just go and do it. It was an amazing feeling. It was like shooting a fucking ecstasy pill or something. And I'd done some daytime approach before, but I was just doing like 1 or 2 sets per day. When I was in the Dominican Republic, a little bit in the UK. And so I had some experience, but that was the first time I'd go out and do a lot of practice, go and do a lot of sets. And it was a really cool weekend. I got 10 closes on my first weekend, which now that happens more regularly because the teaching is developed, like my teaching's developed, the other coaches, Christian teaching, everyone, the discipline, because we're all working on it together, it's kind of mad scientists, the discipline is really developed, like a lot. There are a lot of things that we know now in our group. It's just secret information, to put it bluntly. Nobody can compete with us because no one has this level of information being shared sometimes on a weekly basis. Get my hot chocolate here. So 10 closes anyway for a first weekend. Even nowadays is really good. Back then it was pretty fucking good. So I was kind of like, yeah, I know I can do this now. Now let's go and apply it in the real world. And that's kind of what I started to do. And so I started off just in Sheffield, just doing my sessions. I remember doing horrible sessions where I'd just go out and get 3 closes in Sheffield town centre. It wasn't that pleasant, but it was still early days. I always remember saying to one girl, "You're the hottest girl in what was it? You're the hottest girl in Poundland." I remember seeing a girl behind her, just her face just go, "What the fuck's going on here?" So you'll have a lot of fun. You have a lot of funny moments to begin with, and you've got that youthful enthusiasm. You're like a teenage boy or a young pup just released into the wild for the first time. Yeah, you've just got that energy. Your first couple of 100 approaches, certainly your first 100, you've just got that energy. And I'd actually, before my immersion, I'd met a girl through cold approach who I was actually dating. To this day, she's still one of the fittest girls I've dated. I was very nervous in that approach, which I told the girl, but I still got her number, and she still came out with me. And she still had, God bless her, the largest chest I have ever seen on a human female. I mean, baffling. Imagine the biggest you imagine that they could be, and then triple that. And she wasn't even, you think, oh, was she a fat chick? No, she wasn't fat. She it's almost a disability when your tits are that big. Oh my God, I miss that girl. But I actually broke up with her because I was determined I was going to go on a cold approach journey. I thought, I don't need this weighing me down. Paid the ultimate sacrifice. Strange. And then as I went traveling, because I'm a digital nomad, I went out to Brazil first of all. My first move was out to Salvador de Bahia. It was a long time ambition of mine to go and live there. And so that's what I did. And I was approaching out there just to develop the skill. I had a plan to approach for around 6 months, just to really hit the skill. And that's when it got tough. That's when it got really tough, because I was alone in a new city. I didn't really know where to go. That was one of the biggest things. I'd say I spent the first 6 or 7 weeks just trying all these different malls. And then eventually I realized, there's just one little strip where you can do this really easily. And then afterwards I stuck to that a bit more. But the first 6 or 7 weeks I was getting taxis to malls. It was basically a shit show. And I would put the approaches in, but it was just, I think I was giving off quite nervous vibes. The girls weren't really digging it. I felt very alone and isolated. It was really tough. And I would be writing in my diary, I hate cold approaches, this fucking sucks. But for some reason, being the masochist that I am, I just stuck with it. And I always remember there was a guy actually who's become a coach himself now, Ephraim at Pull University, we were very much the same generation. He did his immersion just a little bit before I did, and started hitting it like an absolute animal. And even though, again, he's way younger than me, when you're kind of reborn in the Church of Cold Approach, if that's not too sacrilegious, when you're reborn in the Church of Cold Approach, whenever you're born, that's where it all starts. So if you're 21 when you start, or you're 18, or you're 50, it doesn't really matter. It's how old you are in Cold Approach years, really. That's really what's important. It's such a weird climate tonight. It's like scorching hot, and then it started raining a second ago. And so I remember saying, like, boys, I'll be honest, there's a few sets I'm bottling here, and I don't really, it's annoying me. I don't feel great about it. And he wrote me a message saying, or he left a message as a voice memo saying, dude, I would rather bomb disgracefully in front of everybody, make a complete idiot of myself, than go home thinking, what if I'd spoken to that girl? And just a day or so later, in a mall in Salvador de Bahia, I saw a girl sat on it's kind of a stone, like one of those stone pillars. It's kind of like it's a bench, but it's really just a stone pillar. And there's 4 of them in the middle of this mall. She's got a brown dress on, slip brown dress on, Havaianas, like long slip, almost up to that, going like onto the mid-thigh, brown sleek dress. Her skin is just like oak, but she's kind of got like essentially European features, and just everything about this girl was a joke. And I looked at her, I passed her the first time, and then I went back and had another look, and I was like, I think that's the fittest. I don't think I've ever seen a fitter girl than that. And I've lived in a lot of places, I've been around the world, I've seen a lot of women. I don't think I've ever seen a fitter girl than that. I can't even believe what I'm seeing. She doesn't look even human. It really was a stunning, absolutely stunning girl. Stunning is just such an understatement. I would say physiologically engineered. That's how I would describe that girl, and even that doesn't do it justice. She was beyond physical perfection. It's not to simp, but she was just an astonishing specimen. And so eventually, I'm going, man, I really want to go over, but I'm getting heart palpitations at the thought of going over to a girl that beautiful in this mall surrounded by these Brazilian guys. And I thought of what my mate said, Paul University. I thought of that line, and I thought, you know what, that guy's right. He's 15 years younger than me, but he's damn right. So I'm going to use that as inspiration. I'm going to get myself in. And again, the set went really well. I was honestly thinking, halfway through the set, I'm thinking, am I going to pass out here? What a way to go that would be. But I just carried on the set, and I think I styled it out. I can look calm under stress, and I think I styled it out pretty well. And I got the girl's contact. We went back and forth a little bit, and I realized afterwards, oh, she's Miss Universe. She's Miss Universe for Salvador de Bahia. So for the state of Bahia, which is 6 million people, she's literally the fittest girl in the entire state. It's like if you met the fittest girl in Serbia. Yeah, Serbia's like 6 million. Bahia is like that, right? And I didn't see anyone even close to her. Salvador de Bahia is actually not that fit, but I've never seen anyone like that before or since. Yeah, just a true unicorn of unicorns. And so that was very good validation to get early on. That's part of the story, is getting that early validation. Okay, you've now closed the Miss Universe. And then from there, I still was having a tough time. In retrospect, being solo is very, very difficult. It's very fucking difficult. As an introvert, being solo, like, I like to be out with people, and then I kind of get into my flow, and then I enjoy the approaches. Because I've got a background in the club scene, I kind of do feel that sense of social proof. That's, in a sense, that can be important in clubs. It kind of is a thing. The guy who's just solo at the bar, can be a tough sell sometimes, unless it's specifically a dance night. It can be a tough sell, and so I felt that. So I was 3 months out in Brazil. I was in Salvador, and then for the most part, and then just spent a few days in Sao Paulo, which is a very, I didn't rate it as a city at all. It was just a very smoggy shithole, basically. That's the only good things about Sao Paulo is what's copied from New York, a complete copy of New York, and quite shitty as well. And the girls were very, very unattractive in Sao Paulo. I mean, I was wandering the streets, I was seeing nothing. Much worse than UK. Then I get to the DR, Dominican Republic, and this is my place, this is my territory as well. Like, the girls, I speak the language, the girls like me. I know I'm their type of guy. I'm their type of guy. I'm a white guy who knows salsa and bachata and who gets it. What they want is a guy who's like, he's a little bit of an outlaw, but he's also hardworking as well. That's the dream ticket for a Dominican girl. So I'm basically a dream ticket on a lot of levels for them. That is really my market, where I have this synergy with the girls. And it was just bang, 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 bang. As soon as I got on, approach, numbers, dates. And I think I racked up that year, I spent about 8-9 months in the DR. I think I racked up about 100, it was something like 102 numbers, which for anyone who's actually doing this, going out into the street and getting 102 numbers in your first, year or so of approach, this is a few months in, is pretty good going. Most guys will never do that. Yeah. Now we're taking it to a whole different level, and the numbers almost become irrelevant at this point. But that was validation at the time, and I'd say it must have been 20 dates. No, more, to be honest, more. I don't know how many dates, to be honest. I really couldn't say. And I had a few escapades early on, and then I met 2 girls that I liked around Christmas time, and I decided to almost toss of a coin, stick with one of them, and I stuck with the most intelligent one. There was one who had a curvier body. The other one turned me on more, but I stuck with the most intelligent one. Something in me, some part of me, I just liked her personality. And so I decided that year, what I'm going to do, I'm going to become sexually disciplined. I'm going to stick with this girl, but I'm still going to approach. Now, the interesting thing is I'm still in touch with that girl, and sometimes we talk about that approach, and she says, yeah, I could tell you were nervous, I was kind of like helping you along the way a little bit. So it's interesting, and this was a few months into my approach journey, and I was like, yeah, it's not the easiest thing in the world to go up to a group of chicks on your own if you're a guy, in your third language or whatever. I'm not Dominican, I'm European, this has been difficult for me to get to grips with. I'm quite reserved by my nature, and so I had to push, right? So, but it's interesting because we talked about it. What she didn't know, she doesn't know that I do approaches like a discipline. I remember 3 or 4 months later meeting some girls from Panama. They were in the DR on holiday, and they were like, motherfuck, who are you? You fucking learnt the ways out here. They were stunned how relaxed and smooth I was with my approach. So it's it's funny because I was almost thinking with that girl, I was like, yeah, I didn't say it, but I was like, yeah, you should see my approach now, love, it's fucking awesome. But at the time I met her, I was still a bit, I'd say nervous, but I was kind of a little bit, depending on the day, And so I carried on approaching for a full calendar year out of sheer discipline. And I remember my last session, this would have been around about June 2024. I was really sick of approach by that point. I'd been at it for a year. And by that stage, I'd been every weekend. And there's a lot of ups and downs. There's probably more downs than there are ups, to be honest. And you really have to push, especially when you're solo. And I went through all these different phases. And I remember my last session, I got 3 closes and I felt completely numb. I was just like, thank God for that. Thank God that's over. Yeah. Went back to the UK, and just almost as a celebration, I remember closing a girl in airport, and sorry, in the train station when I got into the UK. I remember I was back in Sheffield for like 24 hours, already closed 2 chicks, like one in the, one on the high street, another one in Sports Direct, I think. Then go and meet the boys in Manchester, and I remember we had this meet up, and we were just dominating the streets. I remember going out dancing bachata the night before. It was all good times, and I was on the up. I felt like this kind of like total domination of the streets really at that point. And I was gonna just kind of knock it on the head. I was like, I feel like I've completed this. And the next place I came to was Belgrade. And so as I landed here, my idea was to have a spiritual retreat, because I'm Orthodox Christian. I've got a place next to St. Savas Cathedral. It's like wicked. I can just go to the cathedral every day and take time off women. Let's go. That lasted about 3 days. When I realised how fucking stunning the Serbian girls are, I went down to Galleria Mall. It's like, dude, you ain't doing a spiritual retreat out here, mate. You can go to church, but you're going to be approaching out here. And so, and just at that time, one of the guys in my mastermind, he was coming online and getting ridiculously active, ridiculously. And I found, I didn't feel competitive in this kind of like, you know, who's the better approach, who's doing more. I didn't feel competitive in that way, but I thought, well, he's doing it. What the fuck excuse have I got? I've got more experience than him. I may as well go out and do it as well. So I kind of used that guy as a pacemaker. He was early on and he was hitting a pace, so I used him as a pacemaker. And that's what I've done throughout these last few years. And so on a time I probably would have done not that many approaches, I actually ended up doing quite a lot. I ended up getting into nightlife a little bit here, the Kizomba scene a little bit here. And I had a fantastic time in Belgrade, September, October 2024, fucking 2 of the best months of my life. I met genuine friends as well through people who've become genuine friends. Basically one of the girls was married, and she told me within like 5 seconds she was married. Cool. And then I just became friends with her. Really super nice girl. And yeah, there was nothing sexual. It's just like, okay, cool. You're totally off the table. She was interesting. She's a Russian girl, and she's married to the Russian. They're 2 very intelligent Russians, basically. Her and her husband. Yeah, I ended up meeting a lot of Russians out here. Then go over to Bosnia, and I'm starting to push into the winter. Yeah, it's November, December time. That's when I meet SB, the wingman, who comes in and on and off the channel sometimes. And he'd been watching the channel since I was in Serbia, and we decided to meet up in Bosnia. We had a great weekend, just chatting, having coffee, doing some approaches, going around Sarajevo. It was a really fucking cool weekend. And it was interesting because he said to me, he was like, wow, I've never really seen it in person. Like, I've seen it on TV, I've seen it on YouTube. I've never actually seen someone doing like what you're doing in person. He's like, oh, it's actually real. Like, oh shit, he's fucking macking girls in the street, he's macking girls in the cafes, and really confident as well. And yeah, it was a fun weekend. We didn't do that much approach, but it was just like a few here and there. And those tough sessions in Bosnia, really, I think I did a couple of sessions where I got 10 approaches in Bosnia in late November, and it's fucking freezing in Sarajevo in late November. It's freezing and dark and painful. And I think at the end of that month, I went to Istanbul, and I've been doing a bit of a mastermind with the guys talking about, you know, like business ideas. And this principle that, you know, the online space in terms of influencers is basically health, wealth, and relationships. I was like, well, if I'm not going to do relationships now, I mean, I should be doing relationships. I could do other things. I could do languages, but let me focus in on relationships. So I started to focus in on that, and I made the decision in Bosnia I was going to eventually put together a coaching offer. But I was still going out pushing a pace, and honestly, so many of these sessions have just been horrible. Turkey was horrible, yeah. Coming back to Serbia in around about, I think I went from Turkey to Macedonia, did sessions out there. did well out there. Then came back to Belgrade, and that will be March 2025. And I actually ran out of ammo then. I was fucked. I was like, I did one session, I was like, I've got nothing left, I'm fucked. So I didn't do anything else then until I met the guys in Barcelona. So this is like 18 months in. Then I go to Barcelona, get myself on some infields. And so again, that gives me a boost. And then I'm back in the UK, and then I'm starting coaching with guys in the UK, coaching guys out in Belgrade in the summer, approaching with those guys in the summer. But every so often I would just have these like energy boosters where guys, it's basically getting energy from other people, and that's just all it is. Energy from wings, energy from meeting up in a mastermind. I think you've got, if you're very dedicated, you could potentially do a year of solo cold approach, but you have to be unbelievably dedicated, and you will want to get some successes. You may have to travel to do that as well. But beyond the first year, you've got to make it fun, otherwise you run out of ammo. So year 2, I managed to make it fun. I started coaching. Now I'm at the end of year 3. I'm thinking, where have I even been this year? And that's when I started to, I was obviously mostly in Dominican Republic this last 12 months. Some good escapades out there. Dominican's like my home territory. It's a piece of piss. It's a piece of piss for me. And out in Colombia, that was also easy. I knew I was going to get closed in Colombia. That was easy. So these energy boosters have kept me going, and that's got me to the 1,000 approach mark. So maybe I've labored the story a little bit there, but I think everyone's story is personal. That was my story across many different countries, approach after approach after approach, and getting energy from other guys. And the phase I'm actually at now, at 40, nearly 41, I have to be really honest now, is there's a level of indifference in me now, which is it's a deep level of indifference, because I know what comes through the approach. I know if the girl comes on a date, I kind of know what comes next. I know if I see with her, I know what may or may not come next. The mystery, to some extent, and excitement really has gone, unfortunately. And my sheer sexual veracity is not, it's still there to a point, but it's not like it was when I was like 21. I still have a sex drive, but it's kind of like, I can channel that into things like, I went on like a 90-minute run earlier on today. I can channel it into things like that instead. So there's a profound indifference that has hit me, I would say the last month or so. I think it was by the end of Medellin. I was like, first month was exciting. Second month, I realized a lot of these girls, a lot of it was just a disappointment. You know, the girls, they start off, they look good. Before you know it, you meet up with them, they're kind of not what you were hoping, or they disappear off. Or the girl who was so beautiful, she's giving you a weird attitude, or there's a girl who's not giving you attitude, but then you're not really interested. Or with one girl, I kind of felt like she was low-key hoping I was going to be paying for stuff for her. There was lots of different situations. And the one girl I really liked from Venezuela, she left. She had to go to take care of her dad, who was having severe health problems. And I just took that as a sign from the universe, like that would have been the girl of the summer. She's out. How many fucking numbers have I got? I've got about 30, 40 numbers in Medellin, dating a bunch of those girls. There's about 10 or 15 of them on camera already. And so yeah, I kind of was just like, after Medellin, I just kind of felt very flat in this sphere. And I'm here in Belgrade, the girls are gorgeous, I still do some approaches, but it's honestly, it's all these fucking like 19, 20-year-olds, bit of banter with them, but there's not a lot they can add to my life, to be honest, beyond the bang. And so that's where I'm at. It's a kind of a level of indifference. It's a level of complete indifference, but it's an earned level of indifference, which I don't think many guys will get to. Like, I know my dad, for example, he's in his 70s. He probably never got to a point of indifference towards women. They probably always had power over him. To me now, there's an animal urge towards them, but I'm able to just look at that for what it is. Yeah, it's my animal urge. Yeah, big fucking deal. Yeah, you want to have, yeah, big deal. Yeah, she's hot, you kissed her. Yeah, you got hot. Big fucking deal. Can we start to rise our elevate our eye line from the streets and the thighs and the tan neckline and the beautiful breast and the swinging arms and the beautiful luscious long hair? Can we elevate up? Can we look up to the skies, to the stars, to the cross, to the cathedral? Can we look upwards and start to think bigger? And so that's where I'm at right now. Is I'm thinking long and hard, and I'm thinking bigger. To be honest, that's where I'm at, because my animalistic urges, as ferocious as they've been, which I don't know, is that a sign of something negative? Genuinely, I don't know, or is it just hormones? But those are, I don't feel it in the same way. Like if I had the opportunity to meet, I don't know, let's say I've got 10 naked, they're all the Miss Universe chicks naked, and there's oil, and I'm the only guy, and it's just vodka. To be honest, I'd probably take that opportunity. Or I've got like 10 Silicon Valley founders here, like serious, let's say the top 10 founders in Silicon Valley. That would be a genuine, like, that would be a difficult choice, but I'll probably go and speak to the founders. I'll probably take that opportunity to go, this is the future. These guys are they've built the present, and the next generation of people, business owners, we need to build the future. And this is kind of, this is where I'm at right now, is I'm thinking much more on business terms. I'm thinking of a desire to build a very innovative business, because it's only through innovation actually that economies can grow. This is something I've discovered like recently. It sounds stupid, but like it's taken me a long time to figure out economies, essentially, like about 5 years. And my conclusion is, I mean, it's definitely correct, is that you can only grow through innovation. The other ways of growing are very ugly. It's like there's only so much productivity you can get out of a human being. You can work them like 90 hours a week, but there's only so much productivity you can get. There's only so many like slave labor, migrant laborers you can use, and there's only so much governments can even do. What it actually needs is the population, the talented, driven, intelligent people in the population, it's going to mostly be men, to actually step up and build the future, build the innovation themselves. So that's where I'm at right now. Is looking at the next opportunity. Maybe something to do with cold approach. There's things I've thought about here. It would be something that's probably beyond coaching. I don't know what it would be, or maybe my existing sector, or different. Who knows what it's going to be? But that's where I'm at right now. Yeah, I'm just spending a lot of time thinking, planning, writing stuff down, putting stuff through AI, researching. I'm in this kind of chamber right now, and I don't even feel much desire to go and speak to women, quite honestly. And I actually understand that. The stuff I'm starting to see now, like, I understand why guys on the very top level of society, I understand why they just fuck prostitutes, to be honest. It's like, should I say this as a dating coach? Am I like abandoning the faith of daytime approach and nighttime approach and the honorable way to do it? Not really, because those guys, like, their energy and honor has got to go in a different direction. So much of it's got to be directed towards their business. They probably, unless it's like a serious relationship, for them to go and get casual fling, it's probably not even worth it. It's probably better for them just like, what's $150, $200 to them is fuck all. Or whatever, $1,000 if it's a top premium chick. So I can kind of understand it, to be honest. Yeah, I don't think overall it's, I should probably do a live on prostitution. I think it's an interesting question. You can be dogmatically against it, but it's the oldest profession in the world. there's guys who use prostitutes as a sort of I think society would maybe even fall apart if they didn't exist, to be honest. Yeah, who knows? But yeah, I can kind of, it makes me think, yeah, I can understand how those guys can just be like, look, I've got a fucking 80-hour week. If I'm going to shag like next, on September the 14th, is the next free afternoon I've got, I'd like to shag, let me just get a pro. I can actually understand why they would do that, to be honest, rather than an unpredictable, emotionally volatile fucking American. It's probably better just to get a pro, to be honest, when I think about that. Or just have a wife. And so this is the phase I'm at right now, is for me to invest much with a girl. I think if I wasn't still coaching, if I didn't have a coaching offer, by now I just wouldn't be approaching. I can't be asked. I'm just focusing on business. But because I've got a coaching offer, I still get myself into sets. I still close every week, just to stay sharp, so that anyone who comes to work with me has me at my finest, has me at my most premium. So you're able to learn, and I'm sharp myself as well, and I'm empathetic to students. So that's what keeps me going into sets, or I'm on camera as well. I'd actually prefer to be approaching on camera, because it's more motivating. To do solo sets alone, I'm not even motivated. I think even with mates, I would barely be motivated at this point. And you can feel it, like some of my guys in my group, I can feel that I am on the exit of this whole game. I can feel it. Realistically, I've already exited. Because there's guys who are going out in my group and they're excited to be going to clubs, and it's like their first time really winging together with a group of guys in a club, and it's super cool, the fucking girls are hot, it's sexy, it's a new thing. And I'm just looking at it, it's like, yeah, that's fucking awesome. But there's nothing inside me. 15 years ago, I'd be like, oh, I want to get involved. Now I look at that and I'm just like, thank God I'm not there. I spent 10 years of my life doing that, day in, day out, day in. They're doing it on holiday. I lived like that for 10 years, dude. 10 fucking years. I don't know how I developed any type of a career, to be honest. I somehow managed to. Yeah, so that's how you know when you're on the way out of the whole space. So for me, a girl, really what she can offer me is sex, obviously, a bit of fun, companionship, conversation, and mostly children. That's the main thing I think about now. So it's like, yeah, which girl, which way do I skin this? You know, do I use or do I have to get with an existing girl? Do I go with a surrogate? And it's just, this is something I've actually thought about, to reduce variables. It's like a very calculating way of looking at it, but it's not a bad way of looking at it. There's probably only one girl I would trust to have my child right now, that I'm still in touch with, who's of the right age. All the other girls in my Rolodex, I just would not trust any of them to have my child, because they don't understand the rigors of what life demands, a high-performing life. They don't understand it. They're too mollycoddled, they're cool girls, but they are mediocre. They're gonna have fairly routine lives. And if they get with a guy who's doing something good, they'll get with a guy who's, I don't know, a lawyer or something like that, something more conventional, where the variables are known. And I know I'm going to be embarking on a big journey this next decade, another odyssey of further entrepreneurship. And yeah, for me to have a girl who's going to come along with that, she's got to be very mature, and she's got to be able to tolerate me as well. Like, which I'm an easy guy to be around for other guys, but for women, you know, they like the emotional babysitting stuff. Like, sometimes I do it a bit, but you know, to be around me all the time, a girl's actually got to know how to deal with a man, to be honest. She has to. And there's a lot of girls who can't, man. There's a lot of girls who just, they're not cut out for it. They just break. They're too weak. One of my best exes was a girl who was she's a film studies student, but not in a cop-out way. In a way, she was obsessed with films, and she wanted to study them. And she's also a stripper on the side. And she's my first kind of girl I felt really attracted to. She's a really sexy girl, and I felt like it felt almost physically like a privilege to be with her. Like, not socially, but physically it felt like a privilege to be with her. And because of her job as a stripper, she really knew how to deal with men. She knew men's psychology, and she'd seen the worst of men. And so a guy who's like me, who's a normal, decent guy, but the stuff that is inconvenient to women about us as men, to her, she could just deal with that. Whereas a spoiled, middle-class Western girl, they can't deal with even very refined men. Just anything that's inconvenient to them as a woman, they just can't handle it. She really knew how to deal with me. She's the first girl I ever met who was like, right, I'm going to leave, I'm going to get out of your hair. It's like, most of the time, they just want to fucking stick around as much as possible. You're basically having to kick them out. I remember even one girl who was a fairly cool girl, I was like, yeah, I've got work to do, you've got to leave. And she was like, why? I'm like, I've got work to do. Yeah, you need to, you don't want to say it brutally, but like, you need to fuck off, basically. But this girl, she knew how to deal with me. That was just one example. There's many other examples. I know that relationship lasted 2.5 years, from 27.5 to 30. It was one of my best relationships. In simpler times, we could have been together, but the world is very complicated now. Even my employment and stuff it's been more complicated. Like, self-employed, traveling and so on. So it wouldn't have worked out. Yeah, Dominican girls know how to deal with men as well. So do Russian girls. They know how to deal with proper men. Men who aren't being fake, sending their publicist. There's a problem with European and American men. They send their publicist throughout the women's whole lives. And then if they ever, like, come out as a real fucking man, it's like, oh my God, what's this monster? I can't be bothered with that, dude. I can't be bothered with that. And you look at all the guys who achieve a lot, like, they're very polite and everything, but there is a monstrosity in some of these guys. Vehemence and viciousness to them. So, anyway, that's where I'm at. I want to create a dynamic business, something that can actually help the economy grow. That's the best bet for a business. If your business helps the economy grow in some way, you've got a motherfucker of a business on your hands. Because then you're validating capital, and you're generating new value, and that is growth. Yeah. If your business, like a lot of these coaching businesses, they think that they don't actually get it, they're not actually stimulating anything. All they're actually doing is they're doing wealth transfer from one person to another. They're not actually growing the economy. I don't want to do that. I want to actually do something that creates growth. So that's where I'm at right now. If I have business people who watch these, feel free to drop me a line, because I'm very interested. I'm most interested hearing now from people in the business space. But yeah, this is a good place to be after 1,000 approaches. There's a level of total indifference. I don't think many men ever get to. I've got it out of my system. I've got it out of my fucking system, basically. So yeah, go do your 1,000 approaches. My guess is you won't get to it. Realistically, unless you're in my specific mastermind, you're not going to get to it. And you're obsessive, or you're very disciplined, or you have a real reason to, you're not going to get to 1,000. You'll get a girlfriend within the first few hundred, and she'll be amazing, and you'll stick with her, and you'll do one approach a month. But if you do get to that benchmark, the likelihood is you'll just become indifferent. I would say as well, I have learned there are limitations in some countries of what I can achieve. Like, for me to get like a girlfriend here in Belgrade, I've probably got to put up about 50 approaches. They've got to be good, solid approaches, which is quite a lot solo, to be honest. In Dominican, I can do it in 5 approaches, literally. I can get a girlfriend in 5 approaches. I can get a girlfriend, honestly, I can probably get a girlfriend in 3 approaches, maybe 1, if it's the right girl. Whereas here, you've got to run volume. But I know in Serbia, like, just getting in a little bit with the social scene could also kind of be, that's a better angle, to be honest. So Serbia, you can do well. You've just got to put up more volume, and you find one who's interested, who's open. It's more that they're open enough, and that's actually, I think, where the younger girls come in. I found the girls who are most interested in me are like 19, 20, and honestly more 19 even than 20. And it's like they just at that point where they're enjoying freedom and they're open to some new guy speaking to them in the street. Sometimes the girls who are a bit older, it's like they want to vet you. Who is this guy? Where's he from? What does he want with me? You know. So if I were to say, I mean, I think Serbian girls are very good. I think they're some of the best in the world, to be honest, both physically and intellectually and as kind of a spiritual match. I enjoy sparring with them. I don't quite think they're my girls in a sense. There's a slight, I just flirt with them a lot, but I've had dates and stuff. There's just something that culturally doesn't quite work for me. I don't know what it is. I'm very much on the Dominican side, and actually I like Russian girls as well. They're very, intelligent and calculating, but I like their vicious little personality. I like Russian girls. Those would be my 2 favorites, would be Dominicans and Russians so far, and then Africans as well, because they just got amazing vibes. It's been a while since I've seen any African girls. So yeah, after all my trials and tribulations, for me personally, I would go Dominican. I'd go Dominican, Russia. Dominican by far number 1, Russia probably number 2. Serbia would be in there, maybe top 3, 4, 5. Colombia could be there, but the problem is you just don't know who you're dealing with. Physically, they're up there, but you just don't know who you're dealing with. So I don't think I can put them in. Bosnia's a sleeper. Bosnia's got some fucking stunners, dude. Jesus goodness me, man. Bosnia's got some stunners. But again, personality-wise, I don't find them that interested. Turkey I would put in there as well. Greece, yeah, very hot country as well. Those would be my peak countries. Obviously, there's hot girls everywhere. You could look Italy, you could look Spain to an extent. There's hot girls in those places as well. There's hot girls in UK as well. But if I'm going for creme de la creme wife material, I'm going Dominican for a kind of sassy, sexy Latina trad wife, nympho, and I'm going probably Russian for the kind of wife who's you're probably going to end up richer with a Russian wife, because she's gonna like be messaging me, I've got a contact for your business, you need to go and speak to this guy. This is kind of what I like about the Russo-Ukrainians. They're fucking good in that respect. So those would be my top 2. That's just my personal list. Some guys have got an affinity for certain countries more than others. I think we all have like our genetic attractions. So I actually, yeah, I think go out and explore the world. The last thing I would say is it does vary territory to territory massively. And it also varies when you're with people, when you're not with people. That's the biggest weakness in this. I need R2D2 Wingbot with me, because I spend a lot of time solo, because basically most guys don't want to travel to the places I travel to. It's quite rare that I've got regular wings. And although I love the adventure of going to Skopje, North Macedonia, most guys who can travel wouldn't go there. And so I end up doing a lot of solo sessions, and it becomes psychologically fatiguing. So that would be my other great takeaway. I'd say location matters and having wings matters as well. I'd say the three pillars are skill, that's like 30% of it. Location, that's another 30%, and then wings, that's the other 30%. And then the last 10% is just a bit of magic, a bit of magic. But if you've got skill, if you've got location, and you've got wings, you will succeed. You will succeed with daytime approach or nighttime or anywhere. If you put me with my best wings in Belgrade, for example, so I've got the skill, I've got the wings, I've got a location, we'll destroy this place. If I'm just on my own, I'm kind of half-assing it. I'm in and out, doing bits and pieces. So you need the three. It has to be all three ingredients to really take the skill to the moon. And so those would be, hopefully that's a shortcut for you. If you're just getting started, find yourself a wing, get yourself the skill, watch my videos. If you want to learn this seriously, you will have to get trained. It's no coincidence that all the best guys I know in this have been trained, all of them, and we're all in the same mastermind. So you just can't get around the need for training. You wouldn't go to the gym and expect to get jacked if you didn't know how to use the equipment. You wouldn't expect to be a top professional footballer if you'd never been trained, if you were in a shit team with nobody around you. You need to have great training, you need to have the right people around you, you need to be in the right place. And if you've got all of that, your dreams will come true. And I think that's the beautiful thing about this, is with the right setup, your dreams really can come true. Like the guys out in winging out together in Greece in the clubs, they live in fantasy world right now. Their dreams are coming true because they've got the full ingredients. That's the full package. So yeah, if you're interested in finding out more about my training, you can get in touch. If you relate to my content, let me know. It's always interesting to hear from people. I'm very interested, just get in touch if you're a business guy who's curious about learning more daytime approach and you're interested in this space, especially people in the tech space. I'm very, very interested to, essentially realizing that the entire global economy is being powered on that. So that's where the innovation is right now. Unfortunately, the other sectors, as you can fucking see by the buildings here, the other sectors just are not doing anything. There's just no ambition. Maybe it's regulation, I don't know. It's weird to think that Belgrade is partially being powered by Palo Alto. That's a weird realization to think. Actually, it's true though, it's true. Just as like oil basically powered the 20th century, everything that happened, you needed oil. Yeah. The last 30 years basically been powered by that innovation. And everyone else is just hanging on to the coattails of that. Which means that's the only place to be. In terms of the party, that's the only place to be. You want to create wealth, which I do, not just fucking wealth transfer, So, we see where this next decade takes us. We see where it takes us. Hopefully this has been interesting, boys. This is Joseph, 1,000 approaches in. And yeah, it's certainly been, we'll finish off with a shot of the church. It's certainly been quite the journey. I would say for sure, if I'm saying which do I prefer, I definitely prefer the clubs, to be honest. Definitely, by far. A good club, by far, because I always felt you feel like you've got more permission. At the end of the day, you just feel like you've got more permission. It's easier. The girls are waiting to be approached. So I still think clubs should be on the menu. If you're a young guy starting out, definitely give the clubs a try and go and be a bit more aggressive. Like, be a bit more bold, flirtatious, grab the girl a little bit, go get a fucking shot of tequila with her. It's just a bit more raunchy and fun. Whereas street approach, it can be more of a slog. For guys who are neurodivergent, I actually think street approach can be quite good. I think they really struggle in clubs, which is completely understandable. If you're not neurodivergent guy, I'd actually say street approach is probably a good ticket for you, and maybe get yourself to some events as well. And just anyone watching this, don't write yourself off, boys. Never write yourself off. I've had fantastic examples of guys succeeding in this, all different types of guys, and actually guys who've not even had the ingredients, guys who've like, they've got the skill, but they've got shit location and got no wings, and they still manage to get a job done. And that's guys with neurodivergent conditions, other guys with like a little bit of self-esteem issues. You can get it done. You can get it done, and never write yourself off, boys. You know, God put you here for a fucking reason, yeah? We are children of the fucking stars, my brothers, children of Nazareth. Yeah? We're here for a reason. And part of our reason is to develop ourselves as men, interact with the opposite sex, find a wife, go forth and multiply. Yeah, I'm becoming a pro-natalist preacher here, but that is part of the reason. I'm not squeamish about guys getting some experience in, but I'm not going down this RSD route of selling everybody the dream. You want to have 50 women harem. It's just chaotic and destructive. Get the experience you need to get, and then when you find someone good, I'd say like if you're in your late 20s, you find someone good, go forth and prosper. That's my honest advice these days. Because yeah, we need as many bodies going into the future. We've got to build this future, guys. We've got to build this future. Yeah. So hopefully this has been useful. I'm Joseph, and thank everybody for joining me, whoever this is. 3 viewers, that's very lovely to see. Yeah, that's St. Salva's Cathedral there in the background. So we'll leave things there today, guys. I'll catch you, it'll be tomorrow. I'm going to keep coming in doing lives, if possible, every evening. I can't every evening, but I'm going to go for it every evening.